Before I get into this, I want to thank John Riggs and of course Numskull Quarter Arcades for getting this product to me to look at today. I think most of you know I don't typically make videos or talk about things that don't genuinely interest me, and I'll be honest, I never heard of Numskull or the Quarter Arcade product, but a quick glance at the website and I was intrigued and definitely wanted to check this out. Now look, you guys know I love arcade machines, and I'm fortunate enough to have space in my basement to house a few of those and also work on games that, well, they need a little love from time to time. But it's not an endless amount of space. I still have to be a little choosy about what I'm picking up, and I have down here. Realistically, there are games that I love that I just can't pack in here. Galaxian is probably a prime example of that. It's one of those rare games for me that growing up a parent would actually play. Now in my case, it was my dad. He really had very little interest in arcades or gaming. I mean, he'd humor me, of course, and he was always up for a racing game or a pinball machine here or there, but as far as playing video games at home, on Atari or Nintendo, zero interest, except for Galaxian. I had the 2600 cart for this, and I played it a lot as a kid. It's basically Namco's answer to Space Invaders, so there isn't anything truly groundbreaking going on here, but its fun rests in its simplicity and the desire to continually try and beat your top score. And again, it's one of those few titles I could then coax my dad into playing with me. All this to say, when I was able to pick which of these quarter arcades I wanted to look at today, and Numskull has a pretty decent lineup of popular 80s titles, I chose Galaxian with no hesitation. So this is the unit as I received it. It's a pretty nice looking box, nothing over the top, but enough to show off the unit and list out its features. I also like how the ships were printed here on the side. Opening the box up, we find the instruction booklet right on top. As you might expect, these are pretty brief, but give a nice overview of the unit. The two maybe not so obvious things found in here note that the lock on the coin door is actually a button that can be used to hard reset the system. The other are instructions that note when to hold down the player 1 and 2 buttons in order to access the game's settings. And digging into the box a little deeper, here is the unit itself. It's a pretty solid size, standing at almost 17 inches tall and weighing over 5.5 pounds. So this is solidly constructed. It's not just some cheap plastic. This is pretty well made. And I'm going to pause for a second here and call something out that I immediately greatly appreciate about this unit. Its cabinet accuracy. The design and shape of this is cut and modeled from the actual shape of the cabinets used by Bally Midway in the late 70s and early 80s. And not to get off track here, but this was and remains a pet peeve of mine with the Arcade 1-Up units. Most of their cabinets have the same generic cut to them, which to me robs a lot of their products of the personality authentic units have. With only a few exceptions, Arcade 1-Ups all have this same swirl and hook look to them. Nothing that differentiates body type across their product line and gives a nod to the original machines. Even the newer 4-player Turtles and NBA Jam units, they don't even attempt to model themselves after that boxy look of an actual Konami or Midway cabinet. The bodies are just the same generic cut, which I feel is a huge miss. And as you can tell, I'm really passionate about this. A lot of people who are into arcades are really good at identifying cabinets and games just by their shapes and cuts. It's arguably an as important aspect of what gives a machine its history as, say, the body type of a car. But that's where Numskull has paid attention. It's all about details with these models. The right cabinet, cut, and shape. The marquee, the coin door, the control panel overlay, and the bezel. It's all here and represented accurately. Don't even get me started on the artwork. Games of the 70s and 80s have some of the greatest gaming artwork ever, and back then it was put up like a billboard on the side of a cabinet to attract players. The green, blue, and yellow robotic insects that look like they sprung right from the pages of comic books are faithfully represented on the sides of the Quarter Arcade, and it looks great. I also want to call out how there is this little gap between the T-molding and the cabinet, which gives it an extra bit of authenticity and charm. They could have phoned this in and painted it, but again, if you're doing it right and actually honoring the legacy of the arcades, You're paying attention to the details. The control panel overlay looks good, as does the stick. Again, all the right colors and art going on here, and oh, my favorite here, a clicky stick. A clicky stick. And I mean, SNK didn't even give you that on a real controller that they reissued, but Numskull says, yeah, no problem, we'll do it on a model. Now, I love that. So let's turn this thing on and take a look. This actually may be my only minor complaint. You get a USB cord for this, but no plug. Not really a huge deal, honestly. A lot of us are prepped for that these days, and I really suspect people will probably have these on their desks and whatnot, and plugging it into a computer will suffice for powering this up or charging it. Yes. Speaking of another thing SNK didn't do, the Quarter Arcade actually has a chargeable battery embedded inside of it. The manual says it lasts about 4 hours on average. Now, I don't think this is something you pick up and take on a road trip with you, but having the chargeable battery makes this easy to get ambiance without the cords if you have these lined up across a desk or shelf. As you may have expected, the actual arcade ROM is loaded onto this, so you can let a track mode run, or of course you can play a little Galaxian. The screen is a small 5-inch LCD set vertically inside the Quarter Arcade. I mean, let's be honest, is this functional? Sure, it's 100% functional. It actually looks pretty good overall and the colors pop, but really this isn't going to be your preferred way to play Galaxian. But let's be real. The fact that this runs and is playable is a novelty, and that's pretty much where it ends, at least for me. The entire point of this unit is to be an accurate model of the original cabinet, and that's what it does, and does really well. I'll admit that I really didn't know the Numskull Quarter Arcade models existed, but I am really glad that I was able to show you the Galaxian unit today, especially since it's a game that is near and dear to my heart, and I can honestly say that an original arcade machine has been done justice by this product. Its accuracy with attention to details and solid wood design makes it a cool collectible and display piece for anyone who cherishes the original arcades. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for checking out this cool product from Numskull. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all next time. Later, guys.